So the first thing to do is to assemble your ingredients, of course. The recommendation is to keep the cream out at room temperature before you start, so it makes it easier to manipulate. First time I've used soft cheese as opposed to Philadelphia, which is cream cheese. Apparently they are different in textures and things. Who knew? So that's 400 grams. Half of one of these. We'll add the extra 100 grams. Just plonk that in there. The whole preparation time should be around 25 minutes with all the stirring and the stuff, you know, depending on how I mean, a lot of people use, or if you look on the web, on YouTube they'll be using mixers. I kind of like just doing it with with my hands. Call me old-fashioned, but maybe it's just something. I mean, it's not that difficult, you know. If you can see, it's kind of quite easy to get a soft. Actually, this is much easier than the Philadelphia that I normally use, so that's an interesting first observation. 300 mils of double cream. Take that out now. And then it's just a matter of working it until the double cream is absorbed in the cream cheese. So it's quite a cream fest. You've got to like cream fests. Your liver's got to be in good shape, I think, for this. Now we can see that the double cream has been absorbed. That's about, I don't know, 5 minutes of turning and manipulating. And now it's time for the eggs. 1 egg at a time, they say. Now, I looked on the recipe sites for keto Basque burnt cakes, and they're all, or cheesecake, and they're all doing different kind of things, adding things like guar gum and different ingredients. And I thought I'd try something just fairly simple to start with, so I didn't add. I mean, this is literally 4 ingredients. So it's about as simple as it gets, and it just comes out, I mean, unbelievably delicious. I mean, we're actually addicted to it, so it's a bit sad, really. I'm totally addicted to this. Now, this is 3 eggs, and it's not quite pourable. It's close, extremely close. So I'm going to risk it for a biscuit and drop another small egg in there. I had one in the fridge, so let's see what happens. If it's too runny, then I'll be embarrassed on camera. So I did also mill the erythritol. So if I show you what we're using, this is the NKD stevia and erythritol, high strength, really good stuff. Very little aftertaste, almost zero aftertaste. Very sweet. And I mill it in a, you know, one of these coffee grinder thingies, because I just feel that it has a better spread ability. Can you see that in the horrible light? Sorry about the horrible light. There you go. So then just sprinkle that in. It's 60 grams. So the recipes I've seen call for like 80 grams, and I did that the first cake, and I found it very sweet. I'm not, you know, it's such a beautifully unctuous cheesecake that I don't think it needs to be hugely sweet, especially with the vanilla in it, because you add the vanilla and that makes it, you know, really come out, really pop, I think. The final thing is a teaspoon of vanilla essence. One of the greatest inventions ever, I think. Teaspoon and a half, probably. The next stage is, of course, to tin it up, or whatever the technical term is. I don't know that. First thing, the recipes talk about wetting the pan and wetting the baking paper just to help it stick together. So that bit I do follow because I find it really works. Kind of odd with this cake because you're using quite a lot of baking paper. And the first inclination is, why are you wasting so much baking paper? But the reason is, you're trying to get a rustic look out of it and it'll rise. So you're trying to protect, if I show, you're trying to protect the cake when it rises in the oven, get this crinkly rustic look. You're not really worrying about cracks or anything like that. This is the great thing about this cake. It's not a fussy cake to make. It's really totally unfussy. Just stick that in there, the baking paper, keep paper up, because that when it rises it won't overflow then and go down the sides into the oven or whatever. And simply pour, let me get that lined up, pour your stuff in there. That's it. As you see, these quantities fit an 8-inch tin quite nicely. You could actually, I guess, make it slightly bigger and go, add more ingredients to get a fuller cake. And that's one of my goals, is to see what capacity an 8-inch tin will actually take. Hopefully, because I like nice thick pieces of cheesecake. Being a cheesecake freak, I just love to sink my teeth into that. Ooh. Anyway, I'm salivating already. That's ridiculous. That's it. So that has taken somewhere around 20 minutes to do in total from scratch. Nothing exotic. Ready to go. Oven's ready. The big thing about this cake is you have to be patient though, because you're going to not eat it until you put it in the fridge overnight. So it really does make a huge difference in the texture and the consistency of it if you leave it chilling overnight. This is one thing that annoyed me most about the YouTube recipes, was nobody could be bothered to wait because they're on a deadline or whatever is on the video. It was like, oh, I know I should leave it overnight to fridge, but I'm going to cut it now. And of course you get the cake's half done in that respect, I think, because it's so scrumptious when it's been overnight chilled. Anyway, so now just pop it into the oven, 170. I set the timer for an hour. So that's the baseline, and then I extend it when I take it out, and I'll show you why, because I'm looking at the color. I'm looking for the color and consistency as it cooks. But here we are, in for an hour. Okay, so the timer has just gone on an hour. Let's have a look and see what it looks like at the moment. Oh my goodness, there you go. You can probably see that's grown quite a lot, but it's still a little brown, white, creamy. So what we'll do is we'll just put it on for another 5 or 6 minutes, or maybe 7 minutes, and see what it looks like. Okay, so bang on 6 minutes later, and if I give you a quick look, you can see, hopefully, it's lovely and it's jiggly. You can see it jiggling. It's got a lovely brown topping on it, and it's risen beautifully. So now what you do is you leave it in the oven off, the oven's off, but with the door slightly opened, so it can just cool down and start to collapse. Yep, this is the other crazy thing about this cheesecake. You want it to collapse. There it is. Basque burnt cheesecake. As you can see, it's sunk, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's now chilling nicely, or cooling down nicely, and it will just keep cooling down. And then when it's cool enough, we'll put it in the fridge overnight, at which point it will be perfect. I will show you what it looks like tomorrow morning when it's cooled down fully. Maybe even cut it to give you a look at a slice. Okay, so this is the big reveal. this is it in the morning, having come out of the refrigerator. As you can see, it's very distinctive. Let's take off the surrounding paper, which is slightly damp because of the moisture when it was in the fridge. One thing to say is that this is a very cost-effective cake to make, by the way, folks. I think the whole of this cake is £4 if you use the Aldi, not the Aldi, the Lidl soft cheese, as opposed to the Philadelphia, which is quite expensive. So it's your choice really, whether you want the upmarket version or the good budget version, good for the pocket version. So as you can see, again, it's got this beautiful color. We try doing a slice. The one thing you can't get from this video, of course, is this beautiful smell of this cheesecake, the caramelly kind of smell which comes from it. And also you can't get the feeling of how dense it's a really dense, surprisingly dense cheesecake, which is the type I really love. You know, it's kind of like a New York cheesecake, which is, to my mind, the best. I'm not really a great fan of those fluffy types of cake. There you go. Paper, of course, is still there. How do I show you this? Can you see that? You probably can't because of the lighting, but it's a beautiful, solid kind of, I'm trying to do this without dropping everything, solid cake. Sorry about that. Can you see that texture? It's fantastic. It's really melt in the mouth, but you know, really very, just lovely. Look at that. Take a look at that. Oh yes, look at that. See, that's so really surprising bit. So that's it. That's the Basque burnt cheesecake, the simple way.